Hi all, welcome to the third video about the anatomy and physiology of the ear. In this video, I'll explain to you more about the anatomy and physiology of the inner ear. Earlier we talked about the physiology of the outer ear and the middle ear. Now I want to explain to you more about the inner ear that sends signal from waves of fluid medium to the vestibulocochlear nerve. How this happens, I'll explain to you later on in more detail. So listen up. Listen up. I first want to show you the structures of the external ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear in short as a repetition. Tell you in short as a repetition the functions of the external and the middle ear, and then zoom in onto the structures of the inner ear. You see the external ear here on the left side. It's built up by the auricle and the external auditory canal. The outer ear is the collector of sound. The sounds get onto the tympanic membrane. When the sounds get onto the tympanic membrane, this membrane starts vibrating. Those vibrations, they transmit the sound onto those three small little bones. Those small little bones, also called the ossicles, are three: the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. And when the tympanic membrane moves, those three bones start moving too, and they transmit the air signal of sound waves into, or like mechanical movement, onto the inner ear. And when I say that the three bones transmit the sound via mechanical movement onto the inner ear, I mean that they bring the sound onto the oval window, which is like the door into the inner ear. You find the oval window here under the footplate of the stapes. And behind the oval window, you find, as I said, the inner ear, and it consists of those three semicircular canals, those rings, and the cochlea. This one is the hearing portion of the inner ear. Keep looking on this picture. The inner ear houses the sensors for balance and for hearing. And have a look. The sensors for balance are those semicircular canals, and the sensors for hearing is the organ of Corti, which lies inside of the cochlea. In German, it's Gehörschnecke, and in Dutch, Slokkenhuis. It's the inner ear. In this video, we focus on the hearing function of the inner ear, and that means that the function of the inner ear is to bring sounds from the middle ear to the vestibulocochlear nerve into the brain further on for sound processing. Keep this bigger picture in your mind to understand where this cochlea lies in the inner ear, because I now want to explain to you more about the function and the anatomy of this small snail-like structure, the cochlea. Come with me. Let's have a closer look onto the cochlea, the snail shell. The cochlea, which is this thing, is the hearing part of the inner ear. We have different parts of the cochlea. For example, the base, which is the biggest part, and then the snail curls up until you end at the apex. There are some more structures written down here, and I'll talk about them more in the next sheets. We have the scala vestibuli, we have the scala tympani, a scala media, and a corti organ, including hair cells on a basilar membrane. Those are a lot of words I want you to know, and I want you to understand why we have them. So come with me in this story and let's have a look at the next sheet. Just take a look onto those two pictures first. In the upper picture, you see the cochlea curling around. And also in this picture here, you have the base, and then the cochlea curls until here at the end, you find the small apex. Okay? On the previous sheet, I told you a lot of words I want to explain to you now. Have a look. In the upper picture, you see the cochlea going its rounds from the base to the apex. Now you see that the cochlea has a lot of sort of tubes. They are called scala. You have a scala vestibuli, which is the upper one. You have a scala tympani, which is the lower one. And you have a scala media, which is the scala, the tube, in between. And as you can see, the cochlea is curling up from the base to the apex, and the scala vestibula always is the upper scala. The scala tympani always is the lower scala, and the scala media is in all of those curls in between the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. So now we'll find those same structures, because it's easier to understand it then, on the lower picture as well. Let me show you where you are inside of the human ear. Have a look. This light blue structure is the tympanic membrane that forms, as you know, the boundary between the outer ear here and the middle ear here. So as you know, sounds get onto the outer ear. I'm sorry, let me look where my mouse is. Okay, I'm back. Let's start again. As you know, sounds get through the outer ear onto the tympanic membrane, and then they get further transmitted via those three little bones inside of the middle ear onto the oval window that lies under the footplate of the stapes. And then sounds get into the cochlea. And in this picture, the cochlea is not rolled up, but it is unrolled. So in this picture, the cochlea is unrolled. You don't see all the curls. It seems to be just one big curl. But now, have a look yourself, without me pointing to it, where you find the same structures in the lower picture. Have a look where you see the scala vestibuli. Have a look where you find the scala tympani and where you find the scala media. Just have a look. And for sure, in this picture as well, you find the scala vestibuli always as the upper scala of the three ones. The scala tympani is the lower one of the three scalas, and the scala media is the tube, the scala lying in between. Okay. Now, on this sheet as well, you see a lot of words you already know and others you don't know. You know the base and the apex of the cochlea. You know that the scalas are tubes, and that we have a scala tympani, a scala vestibuli, and a scala media. But what are the basilar membrane hair cells, and what is meant by frequency-specific vibration of basilar membrane? We'll see this on the next slide. Okay, again, you see new other pictures. I work with different pictures because I hope that you learn to generalize what you know onto different pictures. I hope that you understand what I tell you so you can explain it to everyone, and it doesn't matter which picture you have to explain it to. So have a look first of all on this left picture. As you know, the cochlea consists of a lot of curls, actually a lot of windings. You see them here as well, but they are cut open. And as you know, those different windings consist of a scala vestibuli, a scala tympani, and in the middle a scala media. As you see, the scala media is way smaller in diameter than the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. And the scala media is in between the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani, but just for a little part, for a small part in between of the other two scala. In the beginning of this movie, I said that the inner ear is filled with fluid. You didn't see this yet, but so you know, the whole cochlea is filled with fluid. The scala vestibuli and the scala tympani are filled with fluid, and the scala media is also filled with fluid, but with a different sort of fluid. What is too detailed for now. The scala tympani and the scala vestibuli, they meet up on top of the cochlea at the apex. There's an opening between the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. So they have the same fluid for sure, and they are connected. Okay, go back in your mind to a picture of the whole ear. And now zoom in onto the middle ear where the stapes is. And you know that the stapes rests with its footplate in the oval window. And behind the oval window there is this cochlea. There is the base of the cochlea. And the cochlea is filled with fluid. So imagine that movement of the stapes makes movement of the oval window, and then for sure brings the fluid into motion. The fluid inside of the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani will make waves when the stapes pushes onto the oval window, because that's what happens with fluid. If you push on it, waves are boosted. Now I'll explain to you the last structures you need to understand the whole process. The right picture is the scala media, this part of the, if you have a look at this part of the cochlea, we now zoom in onto the scala media in this picture. You see at the bottom a basilar membrane, which is this part, and on top of this basilar membrane you see sort of hairs. They're called the hair cells, and the hair cells are connected via those white, in this picture, white structures that are fibers of the cochlear nerve. So now imagine the stapes pushes onto the oval window, and the fluid inside of the scala tympani and the scala vestibuli is moving. Then for sure this basilar membrane will start moving too. So those hair cells will move. And when those hair cells move, they give a sound signal to the cochlear nerve. And keep this in mind for the next slide. Okay, so short repetition. You know that when the stapes of the middle ear pushes onto the oval window, the fluid inside of the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani starts moving. And by this, the basilar membrane moves, and the hair cells move as well and give the signal to the vestibulocochlear nerve. But let me just mention that higher frequencies of the sound signal are further processed at the base of the cochlea, and lower frequencies are further processed at the apex of the cochlea. How does this happen? This is your task for the werkcollege in about 1 or 2 weeks to find out, and we'll talk about this in the werkcollege. Bye!